In today's show, the Trailblazers come up just short in Sacramento as the injuries keep on mounting. This time, Malcolm Brogdon doesn't finish the first quarter. This team's tough, but they're increasingly shorthanded. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen every single day, or every single weekday, that is, coming at you Monday through Friday. Make it a part of your daily routine. Tell your friends to do the same as Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're going to talk about the Blazers' loss to the Sacramento Kings in overtimes, the beginning of a 3-game road swing with a loss to the Kings in OT. We'll talk about all about that one. Malcolm Brogdon goes down with an injury. The injuries just keep on coming. But the Blazers got a really nice game. Some Skylar Mays, Deandre Ayton, and Jerami Grant was big. We'll talk about all of that and how it went down in today's show. That's what we do. And the other thing we do is the fastest recap in the West. Let's just go ahead and get into it, because with 5 extra minutes, we got a lot to recap. Blazers lose 121-118 in OT. They were down 34-29 after 1. Malcolm Brogdon leaves the first quarter with 5 minutes and 13 seconds left and does not return for the remainder of the game, ruled out with a hamstring strain. Soft tissue injuries are never anything good. It's never anything good for people who play professional sports. It's not good for you. It's not good for me and you either if you're not a professional athlete. But he didn't come back. He was in sweats by the end of the game. This is just not what you want to see, obviously, for a variety of obvious reasons. But even down 5 after 1, even losing their starting point guard, they're down Scoot. They're down every time, and now they're down Malcolm Brogdon. Well, Blazers won't go away. They take the lead at halftime, 60-56. Jerami Grant had 18 points in the first half, and this was going to be a game all the way down the stretch. Kings come back, take an 85-84 lead into the fourth quarter, and we get a fun finish in downtown Sacramento at the Golden One Center. Blazers lead by 5 twice in the final 4 minutes of this one. Both times, Deandre Ayton hits 15-foot jumpers. Gets himself open at the foul line. We'll talk about that more later in the show. Cans two jumpers right in that sort of foul line range. Both buckets put the Blazers up 5. The last one put the Blazers up 5 with a minute and 59 seconds left. But they just couldn't quite hold on in the final 2 minutes of this one, despite their 5-point lead. They're down some folks. They needed one more bucket to win it, and they didn't quite get it. But one of the big ones was down in the final 2 minutes, back-to-back turnovers. First, Jerami Grant, kind of a broken play. Like, Kings get a steal. They try to hit it to head. Tamani Kamara intercepts what is a bad outlet pass, and then the Blazers try to run the other way. Jerami Grant gets a hit ahead after like a scramble turnover. So, the players are all stretched out over the court, and ball gets knocked off him by Davion Mitchell and knocked out of bounds. It goes back to the Kings, and then the Blazers, still clinging to it up to Shaedon Sharpe gets the ball in the corner. I think he just needs to shoot it. He gets a catch. There's a pass off from Deandre Ayton, a catch and shoot look from the corner. Ayton gets it at the foul line, swings it hard to Sharpe. I just want to see him shoot this ball. Instead, he looks to drive, steps out of bounds on the drive, and dang it, they're still clinging to a 2-point lead. They get another stop. It's okay. You need a bucket. You're going to win this game. They run a pick and roll with Deandre Ayton and Skylar Mays. Skylar Mays has been great in this game. He gets all the way to the rim, gets caught in a crowd, can't finish in a crowd, gets a layup off, but barely even got it up, above his shoulders. It just in the trees, couldn't get it out of the branches. Misses a layup with about 15 seconds left, and the Kings get it back. They take a timeout and they attack. Malik Monk Monk attacks downhill, drives to the rim, and is called for a charge for running over Shaedon Sharpe. But whether or not you're in the charge circle is a trigger for the officials to review it in the final 2 minutes. Bill Kennedy goes to the monitor. Pretty obvious. It was obvious as soon as we saw the replay one time. Shaedon Sharpe's heels are on the restricted circle or in the restricted area. That's a block. Shaedon Sharpe fouls out on that play, and Malik Monk goes to the free throw line with 8 seconds left. Hits them both at 8.3. Tie ball game. Blazers going to get one last look. I don't know what Chauncey Billups drew up in the huddle. I don't know what drew up in the huddle, but I know I watched it on the broadcast. He spent a lot of time coming out of the huddle talking to Deandre Ayton. And when Deandre Ayton walks away, Malcolm Brogdon says one thing to him. Take your time. Felt like we're going to get a DA touch, a DA shot to maybe win the game. No, they run like a little cross screen, and it ends with Skylar Mays taking a step back, sidestepping three at the buzzer that's off. That's not what Chauncey Billups drew up. They just didn't execute it. Whatever it was, they just didn't execute it. We go to OT, and the game's close in overtime. The Blazers remain in contact all of overtime and find themselves down one. So tied 111 at the end of regulation, but find themselves down one, 119, 118, 41.9 seconds left in OT. Chauncey Billups takes a timeout to draw something up. They get a sideline out of bounds play, and they set up what I think is a legitimately solid look. It's a play. It's top of the key ISO for Jerami Grant, who's had a monster offensive night to this point against Kessler Edwards, who the Kings are breaking out off the bench. Kings played a bunch of dudes looking for combinations that would work. JG, they don't set a screen for him. They just say go. He drives to the rim and just misses a makeable layup off the mark. Blazers have to get a stop now, and they do. Malik Monk dribbles. Floater in the paint. Matisse Thybulle comes over with a really solid contest. Malik has to put it over outstretched hands. Brick. But Domantas Sabonis fights to keep the rebound alive, and the Kings get a crucial offensive rebound. Malik Monk secures it outside the three-point line. Blazers are forced to foul. He hits them both, and the Blazers are down 3. Now, they're down 3 with Skylar Mays, Matisse Thybulle, Toumani Camara, Jerami Grant, and Deandre Ayton on the floor because Shaedon Sharpe has fouled out. Malcolm Brogdon's got hurt. Anthony Simons has been hurt for a week. They don't have any other shooters on the roster. Everyone knows the ball's going to Jerami Grant. They set up an action for him where it looks like he's going to screen, and then he comes to the corner off 2 screens, gets a decently challenging look, but like a shot for sure. Decently challenging look off the mark. Blazers get the offensive rebound. Ball swings out to Matisse Thybulle at the just off the just right of the top of the key. He's got to shoot the ball. He doesn't. Pass it to Jerami Grant. He has to take a really tough one. He misses. Game over. Blazers lose 121-118. That's your fastest recap in the West. Tough one. I thought they played well, and this was entertaining. We'll talk about this more in the second segment. Let's hit the box score before we do that. Jerami Grant, awesome night. 38 points, 9 boards, 5 assists. Played 46 minutes basically in this one. They had to lean on Jerami. Once Malcolm was out, they had to lean on Jerami. Once Shaedon Sharpe fell out, they had to lean on Jerami. And 18 in the first half, 20 in the second half, including OT. 12 of 25 from the floor, hit 5 of 8 threes. Got himself to the free throw line for 12 attempts. Great game from Jerami. Great offensive game. 38, 9, and 5 from Jerami Grant. So going along with 3 block shots. Awesome game from JG. 18 and 10 for Deandre Ayton, 18 for Shaedon Sharpe before he ended up fouling out. Not a great shooting night for Shea, but I thought he played pretty well. 18 and 3 dimes. 13 for Matisse Thybulle, his best offensive game of the season easily. Skylar Mays comes in off the bench. Malcolm Brogdon only plays 5 minutes. Skylar Mays comes off the bench. 18 points, 11 boards, 2 steals. Played 37 minutes, 3 turnovers with the ball in his hands the whole time. 8 of 15 from the floor. Mostly did his damage making right-handed layups. 0 for 2 from 3. Didn't take many, didn't make any. Shot 2 free throws. We got Toumani Camara came off the bench and played his minutes. We got a Moses Brown, a cameo in the first half. He did not play in the second half. Jabari Walker had 2 points in his 14 minutes. We got a Chris Murray cameo when he played against his brother in Sacramento and blocked his brother's shot. It's After the game, Chauncey Billups told assembled reporters that he intentionally played Chris Murray because he wanted him to have a chance to play against his brother, a special moment, And Justin Minaya played for the Blazers. He got cameos in each half. He ended up playing 7 minutes and went scoreless. On the Kings side, Domantas Sabonis, a big old game, 27 points, 11 boards, 9 assists. He did turn the ball over 6 times. That was crucial. The Kings, 21 turnovers. That kind of kept the Blazers in the game. And also the Blazers shot it really well. And the Kings continue to not shoot well from 3. 17 from Kevin Huerter. Malik Monk came off the bench, 23 points, hit 15 free throws for his 23 points to go along with 6 boards and 10 assists. 16 from Davion Mitchell off the bench, 10 from Alex Len, who came in. JaVale McGee did not play, coach's decision. My man, Willie Collin McGee, did not play. It was Alex Len who was the backup big in this one. 12 from Harrison Barnes, 9 from Keegan Murray, and 4 from surprise point guard starter Keon Ellis. So this was fun. This was an entertaining one. I want to talk more about the entertainment. I want to talk more about Skylar Mays. I want to talk more about Jerami Grant. And I want to talk a little bit about Deandre Ayton to close the show and what it means specifically with Malcolm Brogdon out, what this is going to look like. We'll talk about all of that in the second segment. But first, before we even get there, I want to tell you about eBay Motors and fantasy basketball. It's about building a winner. You know who knows how to build a winner? My man, Josh Lloyd. That's why our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd, the best in the game, the GOAT fantasy basketball analyst, my man Joshy. And eBay Motors and Joshy are bringing you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft as a daily fantasy player or you're scouring the waiver wire as a season-long manager, every week I'm going to be right here and provide you with the players that are guaranteed fits for your roster. So let's see who my man Joshy has picked for this week's eBay Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. He's got a couple on here, but the one I want to highlight for you was my man Busy. That's Bismack Biyombo. Blazers fans got an up-close look at Bismack over the weekend. On Friday night, Bismack Biyombo made his Grizzlies debut, and he played 0.2 seconds. He came in to box out for a rebound, played 0.2 seconds. The ball went in. He didn't even get a chance to play. Then they went to a timeout. But that was Friday night. Sunday night, in the Moda Center. You know what Bismack did? He came in and played. He had 11 rebounds. And he blocked shots, and the Grizzlies got a win. And with Xavier Tillman out for the Grizzlies, he's dealing with knee soreness. Biyombo could be getting starts. He's going to bring boards and blocks for your fantasy team. Bismack Biyombo can't catch. He doesn't have much offensive skill around the rim, but one thing he does do, he's the size of an NBA center, he's got long arms, and he knows what he's going to do. I'm in a fantasy league that values efficiency, and Bismack's not going to take shots and burn you with bricks, right? He's going to follow the plan. Rebounds, block shots, dunks it when he gets around the rim. He's not going to try anything too fancy. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows the championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. It's the same with your vehicle. So with over 122 million parts to choose from, your number one for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your car stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at those prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. It's eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right. Blazers lose in OT. I'm not big on moral victories. I think they're just losses. But I do think they played well and they played hard. I think one of the things I've appreciated about this team as they've started 3-5 and we're 10% through the NBA season as they've sort of, gotten out to this start and is that they've played they don't get cheated. You don't feel like they lose games because they didn't bring it, or that they sleepwalk through stretches. Like, they lose and have lost because of their talent level. And increasingly, their talent level is challenged by the injury report. It is a bummer part of the way this works, is that the injury report is meaningful for the Blazers. It was already meaningful before. Scoot Henderson out has missed a week with a sprained ankle. Anthony Simons is out until the middle of December at least with a fractured thumb. And now Malcolm Brogdon, who had been really solid. He hadn't been like hyper efficient and all these things, but he'd been solid. And the Blazers need someone who's just like professional basketball player, Malcolm Brogdon. And that's who Malcolm Brogdon had been. Professional basketball player, Malcolm Brogdon. He could go dribble into his own shot. Could kind of get him into stuff. When things broke down, you could fire alarm it and say, Malcolm, can you bail us out? And he could. He'd been solid. If not super efficient and not all those things, like solid. Dependable. And now he exits the game 5 minutes into the first quarter with a hamstring strain. Like I said in the top of the show, it's just like soft tissue injuries stink because they just linger. I'm not a medical expert. I have no idea the grade of it or all those things. But when a guy leaves with a soft tissue injury and does not come back, it's like, dang, this isn't like something you could work out in the back or play through or all those things. This is like a thing that flared up and you knew it. And often this is the type of thing that lingers. It's a bummer. The Blazers went from a team that was oops all guards to oops, where are all the guards? They were already, once they made the Damian Lillard trade and once they kind of finalized the roster, they were not outrageously guard heavy. They were kind of thin, right? Like folks who are capable of playing guard in the NBA, because it's just how it shook out when they traded Keon Johnson and Dame, and it's just what it is. And now they're hyper short on guards, but Skylar Mays can hoop. He can hoop. I think late in this game, you kind of saw like, oh yeah, Skylar Mays is a backup guard in the NBA. But I think he's definitively a backup guard in the league. It's like, the layup he missed with like 15 seconds left in regulation, and then the three he missed at the end of regulation. Then he tried a kind of a wild lob attempt in overtime, where it's just like, okay, there's some limitations to the skill set. He's not a shooter, as all those things, but he's solid as heck. Just gets it done. Plays at his own pace, like really gets himself to the rim at his own pace. He's not blinding speed, not a bunch of stop and goes, not even like crazy spin moves and stuff, just kind of like gets his shoulders past you, keeps his shoulders past you, and it shoots a lot of scooping right-handed layups. Had one on the left side today, scooping. I watched it with some friends. Shout out to those friends. One of them's not going to listen. The other one is. You know who you are. And it's like, we talked about it like shades of Dame, right? Like finishing with your inside hand and your right hand on the left side. It ain't Damian Lillard, but shades of Dame. 18 points, 11 assists, 8 of 15 from the floor. He's a backup guard in the league. And I think the Blazers may, depending on how much time Malcolm Brogdon is going to miss, whether he misses like several games or just, whether he's back Sunday, because the Blazers have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday off before they play the Lakers, like whatever it is with Malcolm. I think Skylar Mays, exposed is not the wrong word, but like he's going to get stretched probably beyond his capabilities. And when you get stretched beyond your capabilities, people start to be like, oh, maybe he's not good. But I'm like, you've watched enough of Sky play at this level to know dude can hoop. He can hoop. He was. There may be times if he has to play 35 minutes a night that gets frustrating, but I think he's proven to be a functional enough NBA point guard. Gets guys in, he can pass and run pick and rolls. He knows what he's capable of, and when he's not asked to like, hey, bail us out with a step back three at the end of regulation, he kind of plays within himself and plays the right way, and he's the whole Skylar Mays experience is enjoyable. like the Blazers finished this game, and I mentioned it. It's like they finished this game with Skylar Mays, Matisse Thybulle, Tamati Kamara, Jerami Grant, and Deandre Ayton. That's their 5 in overtime. 5 to close the game, final 8 seconds or whatever, and overtime. That's like you're just their depth is going to get exposed a little bit. I like Tamati Kamara a lot. I thought Matisse Thybulle played his best game of the season. Skylar Mays is enjoyable, and Jerami Grant was just darn good. He scored more points in each game this season. That's something they were mentioning on the Blazers broadcast. In each of the 8 games, he scored more points successively in each game. I thought he was struggling early in the year and taking some bad shots. I think he's figuring it out. If he's going to make 5 of 8 threes, he's just a different basketball player. Like he's excellent. But in this game, he made the right passes. He scored. Like they're going to need a lot from JG to be competitive. And tonight against the Kings, they got a lot from JG to be competitive. 38. I really appreciate him. I really appreciate Skylar Mays. And the last guy I really appreciated was Deandre Ayton. And I mentioned in yesterday's show, I want Deandre Ayton to take 14 shots. That would be his season high. Deandre Ayton took 14 shots. Let's go! Let's talk about DA, how the Blazers kind of figured it out with him and why they weren't able to duplicate what they got going in the final 5 minutes in the fourth quarter when they played the extra 5 minutes in OT. We'll talk about all of that to close the show. But first, let's talk about Jase Medical. Listen, Jase Medical is the company that makes sure you have what you need during uncertain times. So you can get the prescription drugs mailed to your house, or delivered to a pharmacy by your house. So you have what you need when you need it. But it's not just life-saving antibiotics. You can also get a 1-year supply of ED medications. So that means you'll have what you need, when you need it, where you need it. So you're going on extended travel. It's not something you have to worry about if there's supply chain issues or just any of life's challenges. You're covered, my friend. You don't got to worry about it. You can get your next refill of generic Cialis or generic Viagra or whatever it might be. That's possible because Jase Medical is going to make it happen. Go online right now, jasemedical.com, to receive your 12-month supply of your daily medication. And remember to use that promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. If you or someone you love would get peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily medicine, not just ED medicine, but whatever it might be, go to jasemedical.com. See if it's offered for you. And remember while you're there to use that promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. We talked Sky. We talked Jerami Grant, who's just had a really solid game when they needed him to. We haven't mentioned Deandre Ayton. 18 and 10 to go with 2 dimes, and had a late pass in the fourth quarter that should have been a shot attempt from Shaedon Sharpe. Should have been his 3rd assist and a game-winning bucket from Shaedon. But we're all learning together. I wanted DA to shoot in this game. If you're an everyday listener, you already know that you already heard this. So that is one of my in our segment, probably a reoccurring segment is. You'd love to see it. And my you'd love to see it for Deandre Ayton was him to take 14 shots against the Kings. His season high coming into the night was 13 field goal attempts in a game. Got 14 up in this one. And he was particularly good in the fourth quarter. He was particularly good when the game was in the balance in the fourth quarter. He finished with 18 points. He had 8 points in the fourth, including 3 boards. He was 4 of 4. Dominating. Blazers win this game. This episode is about Deandre Ayton. I've mentioned a bunch, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, that the Blazers don't have a plan for how to get DA involved, because the plan was it was going to be Anthony Simons. The plan was it was going to be Scoot running pick and rolls with him and getting him to his spots. It's hard to post him up because of the lack of shooting, and that's just like not his bread and butter. Is like 10 post-up attempts a night is not his bread and butter. His bread and butter is shooting mid-range jumpers. But it's hard to run plays to get him mid-range jumpers. You can't really run pick and pops to take a 17-footer. The spacing is just tough on that. again, with the shooters, you run a lower pick and roll, like they're going to pinch in on pick and roll. So how to get DA involved has been a struggle for the Blazers. I mean, it's like you would have liked it not to have been a struggle, but it has been. That's just like factually, it has been a struggle for him. So, part of me, and I mentioned this, is like, I'm maybe not as much of like I'm more of a podcaster than NBA tactician, but it's like, I think, empty side pick and rolls, which they ran with Skylar Mays for him. I think that, get him, even if they're going to load up, like typically when you run a side pick and roll, that's the other three guys on the opposite side, that's an empty side pick and roll, because the side is empty. Like the other teams are just going to load up. They're going to load up. They're going to say, you have three dudes hiding on the side. Well, we're going to come all the way over and show early help. So you're already going to have people in the paint. But DeAndre doesn't want to roll all the way to the paint. He wants to get himself mid-range jump shots. His bread and butter is straight on mid-range jump shots. So that side pick and roll doesn't get him there, but I thought Sky did a good job. Mays did a good job with running pick and rolls, getting him to his spots, or Mays kind of utilizing the attention that DA is going to get himself into the paint and score. That was better. And Mays is a good enough pick and roll operator that it'll open up a little bit more. They didn't run a ton of pick and rolls with him and him being Deandre Ayton and Shaedon Sharpe, but maybe we'll get there. I thought, it's just something they didn't look at. Like they were running crunch time plays. Like in crunch time, they're running Skylar Mays, DeAndre Ayton pick and rolls, and shout out to the friend I watched this with who said, like, I think it's a good thing and a bad thing that they're running crunch time plays with Mays and DA, because like that's their best two-man game right now. But it's like for developmental future purposes, like running your best two-man game, having it be two-way player Skylar Mays and DeAndre Ayton is like maybe less appealing than the Shaedon Sharpe and Ayton screen game. But like Mays is a way better operator there. You are admittedly doing something that would be worse. But it wasn't the pick and roll game that opened him up. It wasn't post-ups that opened up DeAndre Ayton, and it wasn't like playing exceedingly fast in this one. The Blazers kind of did what they do in games that they've been competitive. They shoot a bunch of free throws. They shot free throws in this one, 29. They shot really well from the floor, 50% overall. Low volume three night, they just shot 22 threes. But what they did do is they got the shots that you want them to get. They took 45 attempts in the paint. That's like, I think the number for me is probably 50, but 45 attempts in the paint. That's a good number for them. And DeAndre Ayton operating right outside the paint was crucial for him with his 8 points in OT. Didn't do it with pick and rolls, didn't do it with pick and pops, didn't do it with post ups. So what they do? Random cuts. DeAndre Ayton found himself good looks by, not every time, like, not all 18 of his points, but late especially, just kind of sitting down in the pocket when defenses would help other places. He would find himself open space at 17 feet, either at the elbow or at the nail, which is like the middle of the free throw line, or just above it, and catch it and go up quick. He's really quick with he has a really quick release in the sort of catch and go up straight up and down, or like slight fading to his right side, mid-range jumper, and just getting himself kind of just random cuts, showing yourself, show your body, get there and make it happen. Jerami Grant had a nice feed to him where he got it on the block. He was aggressive. He kicked it back from the baseline to DA, the free throw line, big bucket. Like those random cuts were super, super valuable for DA late in that fourth quarter. But random cuts they're harder to work into the offense. So when the Blazers needed points in OT and they needed just like, okay, let's like find a way to score. The way that they had scored with DeAndre Ayton was random offense. It wasn't sets. It's not plays. It's not actions. I think NBA teams run actions more than they run plays, but we like to think they run plays. But it's like, it wasn't that. It was like someone else attacks, they get a paint touch, and they find DeAndre Ayton. Or the ball swings baseline to baseline, or it swings from corner to baseline, and DeAndre Ayton finds himself open. Or they run, that first little side pick and roll, and then Ayton, instead of rolling to the rim, kind of fades and gets a open finds the pocket in between the defenders at the free throw line. But when teams are going to shut off your water. They're going to shut off like where you want to be at that random free throw spot. And most of your offense has not come from like designed actions, but from you kind of just like react from the rest of the play. It's hard to go back to it. How do you go back to a random cut? And I think that's today was a step in the right direction for engaging Deandre Ayton as an offensive player. Okay, how does he score? This is the way he scores. He wants to take mid-range jumpers. You kind of got to dance with who brought you. So that's where Ayton is most comfortable. So how do we get him there? Well, it seems like the random cuts into space, quick flashes to the top of the key is where it's going to happen. It's hard to diagram those, and it's much easier to take those away. So you couldn't go back, you couldn't attack that matchup necessarily. That action relies, that move relies on other players getting themselves into the paint, other players getting themselves creating an advantage, other players commanding help. And a team that's closing with Toumani Camara and Matisse Thybulle and Skylar Mays and Jerami Grant, who's just not a great ball handler or passer, it's hard to create those advantages. It's hard to command extra help with that group and with those skill sets on the court. They're getting closer with Deandre. And I think Skylar Mays can help him because he's a smooth operator in that pick and roll. And I think if you're getting this version of Jerami Grant, to the moon, baby. But I don't think Jerami Grant's going to average 38 and 5 dimes. But if he does, to the moon, baby. I will see you there, Mr. Aldrin. But I think the DA figuring out more of where he fits is crucial for this team. DA figuring out more of where he can get his offense, crucial for this team. And they're just going to need him because if Malcolm Brogdon misses time, it's a lot of Skylar Mays and a lot of Shaedon Sharpe and a lot of Jerami Grant, and Deandre Ayton's going to pick up the scraps from those gentlemen. Team is shorthanded. That is the nature of it. I don't think there's a way to sugarcoat it other than that. They were already a team whose depth was questionable. Now their depth is on full display. It'll be on full display Sunday night when they play the Lakers. That's what tomorrow's show is going to be. We're going to look ahead to that game and the Blazers games continuing in next week. So what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, tell your friends about the show. If you made it this deep into the show, tell one buddy about it. That's your job. Tell one friend. Maybe they'll tell one friend. That's how the show grows. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.